Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are doing something really exciting. We're mentally strapping on our hiking boots, grabbing our rain gear, and stepping into one of the most breathtaking and honestly one of the most challenging environments on Earth. We're exploring the magical Valley of Flowers in Uttarakhand, India. Now, the monsoon season transforms these high-altitude mountains into an absolute paradise, but as our source material reveals, accessing this raw beauty, well, it requires enduring some serious physical trials. So we're going to break down exactly what it takes to experience this deeply rewarding trek and why thousands of people willingly brave the elements to get there. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this incredible quote from our traveler: "This valley changes its mood and colors every week." Just imagine that for a second. It's not just a static landscape, it's a living, breathing canvas. Depending on the exact week you visit, you might walk into a valley totally dominated by blue, red, white, or, as our traveler experienced, an entirely pink mood. But of course, before you can witness this mysterious, ever-changing floral masterpiece, you have to actually get there. And let me tell you, that journey is definitely no walk in the park. All right, Section 1, starting in serene Rishikesh. To prepare for the wild, untamed Himalayas, you kind of need some peace first, right? So our traveler intentionally stepped away from the heavy crowds that usually flock to the region. On the left, you can see the typical experience of bustling Rishikesh city. It's crowded, the traffic is heavy, and it is overwhelmingly loud. But on the right, just 20 kilometers away in Narendra Nagar, lies the Bloom Boutique stay. It's literally a completely different world. It's foggy, serene, and deeply connected to nature. As our source notes, finding a quiet spot like this with fresh mountain air is absolutely crucial for grounding yourself before taking on the grueling days ahead. Moving on to Section 2, Journey to the Base Camp. Okay, let's dive into this because you don't just magically teleport into the valley. Getting there is an intense logistical reality. Day 1 is a brutal, back-breaking 8-hour bus ride to Joshimath, where you are constantly shifting between harsh, blinding sun and pouring rain. Then, on the morning of Day 2, you hop into a taxi to Govind Ghat, navigating these winding roads past roaring waterfalls and beautiful apple orchards. From there, it's a second taxi relay to the village of Pulna. And only then, on the afternoon of Day 2, do you actually start the physical foot trek to the base camp at Ghangaria. It is a literal marathon of transit. Which brings us to Section 3, trekking through monsoon challenges. Once you hit Pulna, the vehicle engines stop, the road ends, and the true physical toll begins. And as you'll see, not all trails are created equal. The initial man-made track starting from Pulna is cemented and lined with thick iron railings. It's highly functional, built specifically for the mules and horses that supply the high camps. But walking on hard cement is incredibly jarring on human knees. Contrast that with the Valley of Flowers path on the right. Raw dirt, untouched, completely natural. As any hiker will tell you, natural trails feel infinitely better underfoot. They instantly make you feel far more connected to the wilderness. But let's be clear here, natural absolutely does not mean easy. Just look at these trials of the trail. You're carrying a heavy backpack up incredibly steep, energy-draining climbs. And since it's the monsoon season, you're hiking in constant heavy rainfall. Your shoes are soaking wet almost from the jump. You're trekking alongside the roaring Lakshmanganga River. And get this, you're navigating right past massive, giant honeycombs hanging directly over the trail in the Kangwar jungle. It is total sensory overload. By the time you finish this 6 to 7 kilometer stretch to base camp, your energy is just completely depleted. Section 4, reaching the Valley of Flowers. Okay, slow down and picture this. After a desperate night of rest and recovery at the Ghangaria base camp, the morning brings a completely renewed sense of purpose. By 7 a.m., the hikers set out, and the gates to the valley finally appear through the mist. Right at the entrance, you are met with this incredibly vivid scene. The roaring Pushpavati River, flowing directly from the icy Tibber Glacier. This crystal-clear, freezing water acts as a dramatic, natural gateway into the wonderland. Imagine walking across a small, sturdy bridge over this rushing glacier water, the incredibly fresh air hitting your face, with massive mountains wrapped in thick clouds towering directly above you. And then you're inside. As this quote beautifully captures, everywhere you look, pink, red, blue, an impossible garden that you can only see right here. Despite the relentless monsoon rain, the vibrant colors simply refuse to be hidden. The lush green landscape is completely dominated by thousands of bright pink flowers. That pink mood our source mentioned earlier, contrasting magnificently against the misty, dramatic skies. It's an awe-inspiring reward that instantly washes away all the pain of the previous day's trek.
Moving on to Section 5, History and Local Wildlife.
And this brilliantly illustrates the context behind it all, because beyond its sheer visual beauty, this valley has a fascinating history. The year 1931 marks a huge historical moment. That is the exact year this hidden gem was introduced to the wider world. A British mountaineer named Frank S. Smythe accidentally stumbled upon this hidden valley while he was returning from a strenuous expedition to Mount Comet. He was so struck by what he saw that he eventually wrote a whole book about it. In fact, Smythe was so moved by the landscape that he affectionately originally named it the Valley of Love. Today, the Valley of Flowers is a massive 87-square-kilometer UNESCO World Heritage Site. To put that into perspective, it's a globally protected biosphere, preserving rare alpine flora. These are flowers that you literally cannot grow in your backyard garden at home, no matter how hard you try.
But it's not just about the flowers. It's also a high-altitude haven for some of the world's most elusive wildlife. We're talking about the majestic snow leopard, the brilliantly colored Himalayan monal bird, the agile blue sheep, and the rare red fox. While the flowers are for sure the main event for trekkers, the valley is a thriving, delicate ecosystem, buzzing with incredible life that is perfectly adapted to these really extreme Himalayan conditions. Section 6, Lessons from the Trail.
As we wrap up this explainer, we really have to reflect on the deeper, emotional meaning behind taking on a physical struggle, like a monsoon trek. Because here's the harsh reality of the trail that you just have to accept. Mud, steep drops, relentless rain, and total physical exhaustion. The heavy clouds might even completely hide the mountain peaks you traveled so far to see. But here's the crucial takeaway. Those exact elements are what make the journey unforgettable. The hardships of hiking, the wet shoes, the heavy breathing, the aching muscles, they teach you resilience. They force you to be deeply present in the moment. And ultimately, these challenges are exactly what makes the memories of a trip like this so lasting and deeply impactful. So, what does this all mean? It brings us to a really provocative question for you to ponder. Are the grueling trials of a monsoon trek truly worth the fleeting beauty of nature? Would you endure the muddy, wet extremes, the heavy backpacks, and the exhausting climbs just to catch a glimpse of this magical, ever-changing valley before the season ends? It's a question every adventurer has to answer for themselves. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.